If you don't know your spiritual DNA, you will not progress. You will stay stagnant. You will go through the same cycles that you have been. You will continue to experience these toxic relationships. You will continue to run away from yourself and hide behind vices, bad habits, and you will be a target for the energies, entities, and people who feed off of that type of existence. Peace. Peace and blessings to all. Hope that everyone is doing well. Today I got some jasmine tea. Spiritual DNA. What is it? Why does it matter? How does it affect your progress along your spiritual journey? Spiritual DNA can be thought of like your spiritual anatomy, right? We all have a body and our bodies are different. They're shaped differently, they function differently. Some of us have a tendency to eat at certain times or to be most awake at certain times, etc. And those differences affect the way that we move as individuals. It's the same thing when it comes to your spiritual DNA, right? Your spiritual makeup. But there are a few ways that I like looking at it in particular, that I have learned to look at it based on my studies of African religions. So the most important part of your spiritual DNA or your spiritual makeup is your head. Your head is what contains your destiny. Your head, your first eye or your third eye is what contains your ability to be aware of yourself and the things around you. It is the all-seeing eye or the omniscience of God within each of us. It's your intuition, your higher knowing. So it's always important to keep the head balanced. Cleanse your mind of negativities. Audit what it is that you're putting into your mind and what it is that you're allowing to come out of your mind. It takes, a certain level of control of the thoughts and of the words. Another thing when it comes to the head is the energies that protect your head. For example, in Ifa, the energy that protects your head is called an Orisha, right? Orisha means protector of the head. And the head is called the Ori, right? So the Ori is the home for your destiny, for your unique energy, whatever it is that God put you here to do that lives in your head. And the journey of life is to bring that out. But if we talk in practical terms from a scientific level, when it comes to the head, that's where the brain is, right? And the brain controls all the other functions of the body. Without the brain, the body doesn't function. Without the head, the body doesn't function. So we just have to understand how to take these concepts on all their dimensions, to take them into account when we're moving forward, right? So that's the first part of the DNA. The most important part of your spiritual makeup is your head. How does your mind work? How do you think? And you actually have to observe that. Some of us naturally are introspective, but some of us are going to have to take the time to actually journal, to meditate, sit quietly and think with ourselves. Prayer, all of these things develop your ability to interact with your mind and God within your mind. The next part of your spiritual DNA is your ancestry. A big part of your body, DNA, genetics, has to do with the bloodline that you belong to, right? Some of us probably physically look like our mothers or physically look like our fathers, or maybe people who go further back than that. So we can see from a scientific level, from a literal level of physical manifestation, not even spirituality, that the energy of our genetics are passed down. We know this. There's something called epigenetics, where we're looking into this concept of generational trauma. Say, for example, you grew up in a household where there wasn't a male figure, and therefore your mother had to operate in a certain way. And in her operating in that way, she may have neglected you or She may have yelled at you a lot. What epigenetics is about is looking at, okay, well, our parents can only raise us with what it is that they were given and what it is that they learned over the course of their life. And our parents would have only had what their parents were given and learned along the course of their lives. So we have these learned behaviors that also get passed down, these ways of doing things, these ways of feeling things, responding to things. And if a bloodline repeats behaviors in succession, those behaviors will become more ingrained in the way that those genetics play out. So this is how we get generational trauma. But it's also how we get the wealth of our bloodline. You know what I'm saying? Because our bloodline goes further back than just the generational traumas living in, this society or enslavement. It goes back to when we were queens and kings, high priests and priestesses and healers. It goes back to, when we were so in tune with nature and the seasons, and when our bodies were filled with fruits and herbs and vegetables all the time, and we were getting sunlight all the time. You know what I'm saying? So it goes back. We have all this information that lives within us. It's just important for us to know how to cultivate that and express it. But if you never take the time to become aware of it, then you're only going to express what it is that's been given to you. And a lot of us haven't been given the best of hands, so to speak. So what spiritual DNA is about becoming aware of who you are and where you come from, right? So you got your head and you got your ancestry, your parents and their parents, as far as you can go back, getting a general understanding, okay, like what types of things, you know what I'm saying? Think back to family reunions if you've had them, or, getting together on the holidays. How'd your family act? Where did you sit, you know what I'm saying, within the whole grand scheme? But then another aspect of it is the spiritualities that exist around you. This is where we begin talking about concepts like angels. We begin talking about concept of the spirits of your ancestors remaining to be around you, here to help you, spirit guides. Some people are into the concept of extraterrestrials, which just means something beyond the physical plane. But then you have concepts like the Loa, if we're talking about voodoo, or the Orishas. You have, in the tradition of espiritismo, spiritism, you have the concept of your cuatro, which refers to your spiritual court. So these spiritualities that exist around you, and there are different types of spirits, right? There are different categories. Some people may have Native American spirits around them. Some people may have nuns around them, or monks. Some people may have, like South African warrior spirits around them. Some people may have like Aztecs, right? So it's just a matter of the way that I've been able to engage with that concept. Because when we're talking about your head, it's pretty straightforward, just observing your thoughts. When we're talking about your ancestry, it's pretty straightforward. We're just talking about where it is that you literally come from. But when we're talking about spiritualities, this is where we get into the infinite possibilities, the infinite emanations of the Most High Creator. So this is where it gets a little bit more complex. Trying to define spirit is something that is difficult, right? It's very much an intuitive process. It requires us to put logic aside a little bit and tap into that intuition, tap into, gut feeling. But it all is possible through observation. Over the course of my spiritual journey, I began to engage with my head, right? Actually observe my thoughts and what I was thinking, how I think. I began learning about my ancestry. As I did that, I began to feel more spiritual presence around me. I began to have more of a spiritual presence. When I began to observe the type of relationships that I was having, when I began to observe and study the different traditions, I began to say like, okay, like that really resonates with me. A lot of my interests have to do with the African Caribbean and West Africa, right? A lot of what I'm just naturally drawn to and what really like gives me a deep emotional experience, or this type of memory experience of like remembering something. You ever randomly remembered something that used to make you laugh, or you talking to a friend, like an old friend, and y'all had this memory of this time that y'all once had, or this experience that y'all once had, and that feeling that you get, it's almost like it is like a shot of dopamine, or it's like an excitement. It's inspiration. And what does that word mean? Inspiration. It is a state of having spirit within. It is a state of being filled with spirit. Inspiration. You get inspired. So what happens when we begin to come into contact with these spiritualities, that's when, we get those feelings, those type of feelings. And another thing that had come up a lot in terms of like knowing the presence of my court has been angel numbers. Like that was a big thing. And I know a lot of people experience. It doesn't really seem like a big deal. But then when you begin to see these things every day or every week or multiple times a day, then it's like, what's going on here? It's a little too extraordinary to be coincidence, to just be something that's happening in passing or randomly. The organization of randomness, to me, is the presence of spirit. So to summarize everything I just said, to put it plain, the way that I look at spiritual DNA is this. Number one, you have your head, which is how your mind works and what your deepest vision is. Number two, you have your ancestry, which consists of the learned behaviors of your parents, their parents, so on, good or bad. Then you have the spiritualities that exist around you, which can be seen in the things that give us inspiration, that empower us. But then we got to talk about, why does it matter? Like, why should someone take the time to examine their thoughts and examine their mind? Why should someone take the time to delve into their ancestry or learn about their parents? Why should someone take the time to, identify what type of spiritualities are around them, or what inspires them out in the world? What value does it bring? Why should it matter? If you don't know your spiritual DNA, you will not progress. You will stay stagnant. You will go through the same cycles that you have been. You will continue to experience these toxic relationships. You will continue to run away from yourself and hide behind vices, bad habits, and you will be a target for the energies, entities, and people who feed off of that type of existence. If you do not know who you are subject to someone else's definition. Either you're going to decide who you are and what you stand for and what you want to create and what inspires you, or you're going to get plugged into the matrix, for example, or plugged into the traditional way of doing things. Because the thing about human beings, we are never going to not be putting off energy, receiving energy, and processing energy. That is just going to happen. That's how the mind, body, spirit works. We're going to produce, receive, and process energy on every dimension. The goal is to figure out how you want to produce energy, how you want to receive energy, how you want to process energy in a way that best serves you and what it is that you're here to do. Get familiar with the spiritualities around you that want to help you, that want to guide you. When you begin to set your intention or direct your energy and organize your energy around these principles, all unified in the fact of your desire to be closer to the Most High, that's what's really going to allow you to progress, because the light is what's going to shed the darkness, right? The heaviness of the traumas that you may be going through, the heaviness of the bad habits that you may be, feeling attached to or imprisoned by. Right? It's going to shed light on these relationships that you shouldn't be in, because you're not looking at yourself in the light, because you're not organizing yourself around the light. So we're going to continue to not progress until we acknowledge the light within ourselves. All I'm offering is a framework for you to be able to do that. If this makes sense to you, right, understanding your mind, understanding your ancestry, and understanding the greater spiritualities that exist, that's something that sounds like it can help you dive into it, Biggest thing that I always recommend anybody to do is simply journal. Just journal your thoughts. Think about it. Get it out your head. Because when you write down something on paper, gives you the ability to go back and look at it. You get to observe your mind. You get to observe the spiritualities around you. You get to observe these learned behaviors. So if you find yourself feeling stuck in a loop, or if you find yourself stuck in a rut, not feeling inspired, there may be something within your spiritual DNA not being satisfied. There may be spiritualities around you or ancestors around you that aren't being elevated, and therefore they're frustrated. So you're frustrated. They're just as much a part of you as you are of them. We're just as much a part of each other as we all are of the Most High. The light is consciousness, my friend. All you have to do is intentionally become aware of whatever it is that you want to become aware of, and what it is that you need will be revealed to you. It may not be revealed today or tomorrow, but setting the intention of becoming more conscious, of becoming more aware of what it is that God has for you. That's what it's about. That's when God will reveal to you who you are, or in other words, your spiritual DNA. When you live in the light and you dwell in the place of the Most High, that is when you are protected. You know what I'm saying? That's Psalm 91. But that's what I got for y'all today. Wishing all of you progress. Take some time and try to write everything that's on your mind. Call this a brain dump. Anything that's on your mind ain't gotta make sense, it ain't gotta be sentences, it could just be a list of words if you wanted to. Try to write everything that's on your mind until you can't write anymore, and just see how it makes you feel. But with that, hope you have a beautiful day. Much love, many blessings to you and the spiritualities around you and within you. May you be at peace in your mind. May you be calm in your spirit. And may you see behind all of the trauma to see the gold and the riches and the abundance of your true essence, of your true spiritual DNA. All right, peace out.